In contrast to an entrepreneur, a venture capitalist is a professional money manager who makes risk investments from a dash of capital to obtain a high rate of return.
Good job. Your answer pool works well here.
Which of the following would be the most appropriate source of finance for a new business that makes mobile phone accessories?
You chose friends and family, and it is correct. A venture capital wants to invest us 12 million with a pre-money valuation of us 50 million. What is the post-money valuation of the company? You got it. Your choicest 62 million is right.
Dash is used in financing the expansion of the business in areas such as launching into foreign markets or creating new product lines.
On track. Growth capital is the correct answer.
What is the most common successful outcome of a venture capital investment that results in significant value multiplication?
Solid response. Initial public offering is a valid choice. Venture capital which originates from the majority of its fund raising in the form of its own capital is. You're right. Equity venture capital is the correct answer.
Which of the following best describes the typical outcome of venture capital investments in startups?
Good thinking. High risk, high reward scenarios is the right answer.
Which of the following is not the Sharia principle being used in venture capital and private equity?
Great thinking. Ijara is the right choice. In a venture capital deal, Dash ownership chunks of a company are created and sold to Dash investors. Nice selection. Large a few is the correct and valid answer.
Which of the following is an example of a well-known startup that received venture capital funding?
Well done. A technology company like Google is the right choice.
The insurance plays a role in the economic development of the country in the following ways dash.
Smart pick. All of the above is the correct choice.
Venture capital financing is capital investment. This is the technical definition of the term.
Nicely done. Quasi-equity financing is a solid answer.
In the context of venture capital, why might an individual be motivated to fund a startup?
Excellent. To support innovative ideas and entrepreneurs is a brilliant choice.
Why might venture capitalists be motivated to fund startups with innovative technologies?
Clear logic. Your choice to foster economic development and job creation is sound and 100% true.
Startup financing, also known as startup capital, achieves an average annual return of.
Well-reasoned. 35%, 50% is the correct choice.
In summary, what is the primary motivation of venture capitalists when funding startups?
Well picked. To support innovation and business growth is the correct answer.
A venture capital-backed company that has not gone public or been acquired is considered.
Valid point. Still private is true.
Which one is not one of the roles of construction and development of venture capital?
Smart move. Charity is an accurate answer. The document that describes the capital gap for the first time is commonly called.
Sharp thinking. The Macmillan Report is the right choice.
An advantage that share capital has over long-term loans is that
Exactly.
The capital never has to be repaid makes sense, and it is right choice.
If a venture capital-backed company goes out of business, this is referred to as
Great job. Defunct is the accurate answer. How many countries has the Golden Gate Venture has invested in the Asian market? Strong choice. Sen is the right answer. Angel investing in capital is typically provided in which stage of financing?
Correct response. Formative stage is the most accurate answer.
Who are the individuals or entities that provide venture capital funding?
Nice work. You chose venture capitalists, and it is correct.
which Slovak venture fund is the oldest and at the same time the largest?
Bravo, Nulogy Venture Fund is the answer. Which of the following refers to the characteristics of the money market?
Right choice. A more liquid than capital market is the best answer.
What form of investment is the most common for the venture capital fund? Perfect. Prestat financing is the correct choice.
The following are the characteristics of venture capital financing dash.
Excellent choice. Temporary is the right answer.
Which of the mentioned VC funds also focuses on the gaming industry?
Correct. Andreessen Horowitz is the right answer. A firm that is specialized in financing young startup companies.
Right again. Venture capital is a valid answer.
Which stage of a business is typically funded by venture capital?
Good thinking. Early stage is the right answer. Which of the following give finance to young startup companies? Smart pick. Venture capital firm is the correct choice. The largest value of the portfolio of the mentioned VC firms is... Nicely done. Andreessen Horowitz is a solid answer.
The largest industry group receiving venture capital funding is...
You're right. None of the above is the correct answer. Which of the following is a characteristic of venture capital? N.
On track, high risk and high return investments is the correct answer.
Which company does not have Sequoia Capital in its portfolio?
Good job. Your answer Airbnb works well here.
What is the typical investment period for venture capital?
Excellent. 5 to 7 years is a brilliant choice.
This type of PMV financing can be done in 3 ways, except...
Solid response. Direct bond inclusion is a valid choice.
Which is not included in process of a venture capital?
Nice work. You chose none, and it is correct. Which of the following funds is not a Slovak VC fund? Right again. Elevator Ventures is a valid answer. Dash works alone, while Dash are part of a company. Right choice. Business Angels, venture capitalist is the best answer.
What is the exit strategy for venture capitalists?
Strong choice. Sell equity stake through IPO or merger acquisition is the right answer. What is the risk associated with venture capital? Correct response. Potential loss of investment is the most accurate answer. What is the source of funds for venture capital? Perfect.
Institutional investors, high net worth individuals, and corporate investors is the correct choice.
Which of the mentioned VC funds is the largest?
Sharp thinking. Sequoia is the right choice. Venture capital firms are usually organized as
Bravo. Limited partnership is the answer.
What is the main objective of venture capital?
Exactly. To provide funding and support to startups makes sense and it is right choice.
how many several types of venture capital?
You chose 7, and it is correct.
Capital market instrument include dash.
Correct.
Corporate long-term securities is the right answer. Venture capital is invested in
You got it. Your choice, early stage firms with long-term growth potential, is right.
what is startup capital?
Valid point. Finance needed before starting trading is true.
What is venture capital?
Excellent choice. Money lent to startups for business development is the right answer. How you will get all these quiz questions in PDF books format?
Nice selection. Contact Narayan Changda is the correct and valid answer.